Welcome to a new episode. First of all, thank you for joining us, the TSU team. Antoniel Andrade.
Hello, I'm Darian Tesuria.
And John Longa.
And Emily Gulcapi.
Today we are going to talk about Incoterms. Incoterms are a vital part of the international trade. These helpful terms are used to facilitate the international trade and they can also help to solve disagreements in the case of a dispute. When exporting products internationally, the parties must understand and agree that terms based on 11 Incoterms.
Incoterms is short for International Commerce Terms, which are published by the International Chambers of Commerce and relate to international commerce law. The latest version of Incoterms is Incoterms 2020. They are set by governments and legal authorities around the world. So, what are Incoterms? Incoterms are the selling terms that the buyer and seller of goods both agree to for the international sales and supply of goods. International clearing state, which takes costs and risks are associated with the buyer and which are associated with the seller. The Incoterms state where the selling costs and risks are transferred onto the buyer.
There are different types of Incoterms, such as any mode or modes of transport, and sea and inland waterway transport. Apart from that, Incoterms establish the freight collect terms and the freight prepaid terms. The starting point of the shipping process starts at the seller location or warehouse. The product leaves the warehouse, get loaded on board a vessel or aircraft at the port of loading, get shipped through the port of destination, pass through custom at the arriving country, and then get delivered further through to the buyer location. Along the way, there are set Incoterms to establish which risk and cost are agreed to be paid by the seller and which are to be transferred to the buyer.
That being said, Incoterms help to determine different obligations and charges and displays, which are covered by the seller and by the buyer. The first Incoterm EXW, which means export or ex-warehouse. If the buyer and seller agree to sell goods on export term, then seller obligations are simple. The seller will only cover the cost of the goods and the export packing ex-warehouse. So, the seller will manufacture what goods and have them packed and released for collection for their warehouse. From then on, all additional costs and risks involved in transport away from the warehouse is covered by the buyer. Moving further along the supply chain, there are FCA, FIS, and FOB Incoterms. Under FCA, free to carrier, the seller will cover export duties, taxes, and custom clearance to get the product prepared for export. Under FIS, free alongside ship, the seller will cover the origin term for handling chair. Then it's moving on FOB, free on board. FOB is generally the most popular Incoterm that is used for container trade.
When FOB terms are agreed upon, the seller's obligation is to supply the goods and also to pay for all of the additional charges involved to get the goods actually loaded on board the vessel for export. That means the seller will cover all previously mentioned charges and pay for the loading charge to get the goods loaded on board the vessel for export. As soon as the goods are loaded on board, all further associated costs and risks are transferred onto the buyer. The buyer will pay for the international freight on all charges thereafter. If the seller agrees to pay for the cost or freight and carriage, then there can choose to sell the goods on CFR, CIF, CPT, or CIP Incoterms.
Note that CFR and CIF are similar Incoterms that cover sea and island waterway transport. If the seller agreed to cover the cost on insurance during international sea freight, then they can sell on the CIF Incoterms. CPT and CIP are similar Incoterms that relate to any mode or modes of transport, where the seller will agree to pay for destination, terminal, port, handling charges. If the seller agreed to cover the cost of insurance during transport, they can sell goods under the CIP Incoterms. Moving further along, DIP, DPU, and DDP are Incoterms involved with getting goods delivered, allowed, and customs clearance at the country of destination.
Under DAP, delivered at place, the seller will cover the costs of delivered to destination. If DPU, delivered at place unloaded, is agreed, then the seller will also pay for the unloading costs at the destination. Finally, if DDP, delivered duty paid, is agreed, then the seller will also pay for the import duties, taxes, and customs clearance at the country of destination. Certainly, it is important for the parties, both buyer and seller, that before the products can be shipped internationally, they must agree on the Incoterms that the goods get sold. The Incoterms must be clearly stated in sales contracts and countersigned by both parties to avoid any misunderstandings. Should any disputes arise, then the details included in the documentation will be referred to.
If you have any detailed question related to Incoterms, you can leave us a comment and we'll have clarified your doubts. See you next episode.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye!
Goodbye.